The vast chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with an electric tension. Holographic displays flickered, casting blue-white light across the faces of representatives from a dozen star-spanning civilizations. At the center of their discussion, humanity. Captain June Park sat quietly in a small observation room, his fingers tracing the edge of a datapad. Outside the reinforced windows, Earth looked peaceful, a blue marble spinning silently against the endless black of space. No one would have guessed the potential that simmered beneath the planet's atmosphere. Yoon Williams, the Council's primary human diplomatic representative, listened carefully as alien ambassadors discussed humanity's status. Their words were clinical, almost dismissive. "Humans are still a young species," said a crystalline being from the Orion cluster. Its translucent form shifted with each word. Emotional, volatile, prone to internal conflicts. Another representative, a tall reptilian creature with iridescent scales, clicked its tongue in agreement. Their history is filled with wars, constant territorial disputes, technological advancement mixed with brutal self-destruction. June understood their perspective. Human history was indeed a complex tapestry of conflict in progress. Centuries of wars, genocides, and territorial battles painted a picture of a species that seemed perpetually on the brink of self-annihilation. But they didn't see the whole story. In research facilities across Earth, scientists were working on technologies that would challenge everything these galactic representatives believed. Quantum communication networks, adaptive AI systems, biological interface technologies that could revolutionize interstellar communication. Kira Lee, a brilliant xenobiologist seated next to June, kept her expression neutral. She knew humanity's potential was far beyond what these bureaucrats could comprehend. The Council's assessment continued. Holographic charts displayed humanity's technological progress, military capabilities, and social structures. Each graph seemed to confirm their preconceived notions. Humans were unpredictable, potentially dangerous. What they didn't realize was that unpredictability could be a strength. June remembered his military training. The human approach to problem-solving was fundamentally different from other species. Where others saw rigid systems, humans saw opportunities for creative solutions. Where others followed established protocols, humans were willing to break rules. A soft beep interrupted the Council's discussion. A junior diplomat approached Yoon Williams, whispering something that made her eyebrows raise slightly. Outside, Earth continued its silent rotation. Cities glowed with artificial light. Orbital stations hummed with activity. Research vessels probed the edges of known space. Beneath the planet's surface, a network of quantum computers processed information at speeds that would astonish these galactic representatives. The reptilian ambassador continued its critique. Their social structures are primitive. Their environmental management is inconsistent. They cannot be trusted with advanced diplomatic relations. Kira Lee finally spoke, her voice calm and measured. Assessment requires comprehensive understanding. Historical context matters. The chamber fell silent. Her simple statement carried more weight than hours of complicated diplomatic rhetoric. June watched the interactions, understanding the delicate dance of interstellar politics. Humanity was being judged, not as it was, but as these alien civilizations perceived it to be. Little did they know that perception was about to change. The holographic displays continued to cycle through human data. Military capabilities, technological developments, social structures. Each image told a story, but not the complete narrative these aliens expected to see. Beneath the surface of human society, something was brewing. A potential, an adaptability, that these established galactic civilizations could not comprehend. The council meeting would end, reports would be filed, humanity would remain classified as a developing species. But change was coming, and no one in this chamber understood just how profound that change would be. Captain June Park allowed himself a slight, almost imperceptible smile. Let them underestimate humanity, he thought. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The first attack came without warning. Massive ships dropped out of hyperspace, their hulls gleaming like obsidian knives against the soft light of a peaceful colony world. Monitoring stations went silent in seconds, their communication arrays reduced to molten fragments. Kira Lee watched the initial reports stream across her screen. Something was fundamentally wrong with these attackers. Their strategy wasn't random. It was coldly, mathematically precise. The alien invaders, later identified as the Krell, moved with a calculated efficiency that suggested something beyond simple military conquest. Each strike was designed to maximize psychological impact. Colony after colony fell within standard galactic time measurements, their defensive systems overwhelmed before they could even activate primary shields. Daniel Kim, seated in the Emergency Response Center, tracked the invasion's progression. Red markers spread across the galactic map like blood droplets, each representing a world that had gone dark. Entire civilizations were being systematically erased. "They're not just attacking," Daniel muttered to a colleague. "They're strategically eliminating potential resistance." The Galactic Council's member species began to panic. Species that had dominated interstellar politics for millennia suddenly found themselves vulnerable. Their sophisticated defense networks, built over centuries, crumbled like sand against the Krell's advanced technological assault. Communication networks collapsed. Planetary defenses became useless. The Krell moved with a predatory intelligence that suggested something more than simple military conquest. June Park reviewed the initial combat reports. Something about the invasion pattern felt unusual. The attacks weren't just about territorial expansion. They seemed designed to create maximum psychological devastation. Research stations on distant moons went silent. Orbital platforms disappeared without a trace. The Krell moved through space like a surgical instrument, cutting away resistance with cold precision. Survivors told fragmented stories. Ships that encountered the Krell survived mere minutes. Their weapon systems were decades, perhaps centuries, beyond current galactic technology. Energy weapons that could slice through planetary shields like paper. Quantum disruption technologies that turned complex computer systems into useless circuits. The most terrifying aspect was their complete lack of communication. No demands, no negotiations, just pure, methodical destruction. Kira Lee's analysis revealed disturbing patterns. The Krell weren't just conquering. They were systematically removing specific technological and biological resources. Star systems with unique mineral compositions. Planets with specific gravitational characteristics. Research stations developing advanced quantum technologies. "This isn't a typical invasion," she explained to the Emergency Council. "They're selecting targets with a purpose we don't understand." Military commanders from various species gathered in emergency sessions. Panic started to replace their usual diplomatic composure. Species that had spent millennia in complex political negotiations now faced a threat that rendered all their sophisticated strategies meaningless. The Krell moved between star systems with impossible speed. Their ships defied known laws of physics, jumping across vast distances in moments that should have been mathematically impossible. Daniel Kim tracked the invasion's progression, his fingers moving quickly across holographic displays. Each moment revealed another layer of the mysterious attack. The Krell weren't just destroying, they were systematically dismantling entire civilizational infrastructures. June Park understood something the panicking council members didn't. This was more than a military invasion. This was a calculated, almost surgical removal of specific technological and biological resources. As star systems continued to fall, one question remained unanswered. What was the true purpose behind the Krell's systematic destruction? The galaxy held its breath, waiting for an answer that seemed increasingly unlikely to come. Humanity watched, observed, and began to prepare in ways no one could have predicted. The invasion had begun, and nothing would be the same again. The transmission arrived encrypted through quantum channels, a desperate plea from the Galactic Council. Fragmented signals showed entire civilizations collapsing under the Krell's merciless assault. June Park studied the message, his eyes scanning each line with clinical precision. The Council's pride was shattered, their sophisticated diplomatic language replaced by raw, unfiltered desperation. In military research, facilities scattered across Earth, teams of scientists and strategists worked in silent concentration. No dramatic speeches, no grand declarations. Just pure calculated preparation. Admiral Hae Kim assembled a response team unlike any previous military deployment. Young specialists from diverse backgrounds, programmers, quantum physicists, neural network designers, and unconventional military strategists. Their average age was surprisingly low, most under 35. The first human response fleet was something entirely unexpected. Sleek vessels that looked more like advanced research platforms than traditional warships. Their design challenged every conventional understanding of space combat. Quantum adaptive computer systems formed the core of their strategic planning. These weren't simple AI programs, but complex neural networks capable of processing multiple potential scenarios simultaneously. Where traditional military strategies required hours of planning, these systems generated combat strategies in milliseconds. Earth's technological infrastructure hummed with anticipation. Satellites repositioned, communication networks realigned. Every global resource was subtly redirected toward this potential conflict. Daniel Kim, coordinating diplomatic communications, understood the delicate nature of their intervention. This wasn't just a military response. This was a potential redefinition of humanity's role in the galactic community. The Krell had systematically destroyed civilizations with technological superiority, but they hadn't encountered humanity's unique approach to problem solving. Kira Lee's xenobiological research provided critical insights. The Krell's attack pattern suggested a species that understood technological systems, but failed to comprehend adaptive, non-linear thinking. They expected predictable responses. Humanity would provide anything but predictability. The first human, ships prepared for deployment. Their design was revolutionary. Modular systems that could reconfigure mid-combat. Weapon platforms that could transform based on real-time threat assessments. Communication arrays that could penetrate quantum interference. Military strategists from traditional galactic powers watched with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Humans were an unknown variable, emotional, unpredictable, potentially more dangerous than the threat they were about to engage. Admiral Hae Kim's final briefing was short and direct. "We're not here to save anyone," she told her team. "We're here to demonstrate a concept. Adaptation is our primary weapon." The response fleet's launch was silent. No massive ceremonial send-off, no dramatic music, just precise, calculated movement. Quantum communication networks lit up. Information began flowing faster than light, creating a tactical web that would become humanity's greatest weapon. Each ship carried more than weapons. They carried adaptive learning systems, computers that could analyze and respond to threats in microseconds, weapon platforms that could literally reshape themselves mid-combat. The Galactic Council watched with a mixture of terror and hope. Humanity was no longer the primitive species they had dismissed. They were something entirely different. As the first human ships approached the combat zones, something remarkable began to happen. The very fabric of space seemed to shift around them. Traditional combat mathematics no longer applied. The Krell would soon discover that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology. It was the ability to think beyond established rules, to see opportunities where others saw only limitations. The intervention had begun, and nothing would be the same again. Space waited, holding its collective breath. Humanity was entering the game. The first encounter happened near the Orion cluster, where broken remnants of alien civilizations drifted like silent ghosts. Krell battleships approached, expecting another predictable engagement. Their quantum targeting systems locked onto the human vessels. Sleek, almost fragile-looking craft that seemed laughably inadequate against their massive armored platforms. Captain June Park watched the initial approach with calculated calm. The human ships moved differently. Not like traditional military vessels, but more like living organisms, fluid, adaptive, unpredictable. Quantum adaptive systems inside each human vessel processed combat scenarios at speeds that defied traditional computational logic. Where other species saw rigid battle plans, humans saw a dynamic, ever-changing landscape of potential interactions. The first weapon discharge came from the Krell, a massive energy beam designed to obliterate entire planetary defense systems. It should have annihilated the human vessels instantly. Instead, the human ships shifted. Not just moved, shifted. Like liquid mercury responding to pressure, the vessels transformed. Weapon platforms reconfigured. Shield harmonics adjusted. What should have been a direct hit became a glancing impact. Admiral Hay Kim's voice remained steady. Adaptive response protocol initiated. Each human ship carried something revolutionary. Neural-linked combat systems that learned and responded in real time. They weren't just machines. They were living, thinking entities that could predict, react, and counteract faster than any known technological system. The Krell's initial assault involved 6 massive battleships, technological monstrosities that had destroyed entire civilizations in previous encounters. Their weapons could slice through planetary shields like paper. Within 17 minutes, all 6 battleships were disabled. Not destroyed. Disabled. Precisely. Systematically. With a surgical precision that suggested something beyond simple military engagement. Kira Lee, monitoring the engagement from Earth's Deep Space Research Station, noticed something extraordinary. The human vessels weren't just fighting, they were studying. Every interaction with the Krell became a learning opportunity. Weapon systems that had been ineffective in the first moments of combat were quickly redesigned. Shield harmonics adjusted, communication frequencies realigned. The human response was evolving faster than the Krell could comprehend. Daniel Kim watched the real-time holographic displays. Traditional military analysts would have called the human strategy chaos, but there was a deeper logic. A fluid, dynamic approach that transformed combat from a rigid engagement into a living, breathing interaction. The Krell discovered something terrifying. Humans didn't just fight. They understood. Each combat encounter became a complex dance of technological adaptation. Human ships moved like living organisms, reconfiguring themselves moment by moment. Weapon platforms transformed. Shield frequencies shifted. What should have been predictable became impossible to anticipate. Quantum communication networks allowed instant strategic updates. Every ship became a living node in a massive adaptive combat system. Information flowed faster than light, creating tactical webs that rewrote the fundamental understanding of space warfare. The galactic community watched in stunned silence. Humanity wasn't just fighting. They were rewriting the rules of engagement. By the engagement's conclusion, the Krell found themselves facing an enemy that didn't just resist, an enemy that learned, adapted, transformed. Captain June Park's final transmission to the Galactic Council was simple and direct. First engagement complete. Analyzing data. No dramatic speeches, no grand declarations. Just pure, calculated information. The tide was turning, and nobody, especially not the Krell, saw it coming. Space waited, holding its collective breath. Humanity had entered the game, and the rules would never be the same again. The final battle lasted precisely 17 hours, 23 minutes, and 45 seconds. When cosmic dust settled, human vessels stood triumphant, not through overwhelming force but through something far more powerful: intelligence. Galactic Council representatives watched in stunned silence. The species they had once dismissed as primitive and volatile had just saved multiple civilizations from complete destruction. Captain June Park's fleet hadn't just defeated the Krell. They had systematically dismantled their entire technological infrastructure with surgical precision. Each engagement became a learning moment, each battle a complex problem to be solved rather than a simple conflict to be won. Kira Lee's xenobiological research provided critical insights. The Krell weren't simply a military threat. They were a complex species driven by resource preservation and technological expansion. Humanity's approach wasn't to destroy, but to understand. Daniel Kim managed the diplomatic aftermath. His negotiations were neither aggressive nor submissive. They were calculated, precise, showing a level of strategic thinking that left alien diplomats both impressed and slightly terrified. The Krell's defeat wasn't just military, it was conceptual. Humanity had demonstrated something revolutionary, adaptive intelligence that transcended traditional warfare. Quantum communication networks captured every moment of the conflict. Research stations across Earth analyzed terabytes of data in real time. What appeared chaotic to outside observers was actually a perfectly orchestrated dance of technological and strategic innovation. Admiral Hai Kim's final report was characteristically direct. The conflict was not about destruction, she stated. It was about communication, understanding, adaptation. Alien civilizations that had previously viewed humans as emotional, unpredictable creatures now saw something different. A species capable of transforming potential conflict into an opportunity for mutual understanding. The Galactic Council's emergency session became something unprecedented. Instead of discussing punishment or restrictions, they were negotiating collaboration. Humanity had proven itself not just as a military force, but as a potential bridge between diverse civilizations. Each human vessel that returned told a story. Not of conquest, but of problem-solving. Their adaptive systems had learned more about the Krell in weeks than other civilizations had in centuries. Every engagement was a complex conversation. Every battle a nuanced interaction. Technological exchanges began almost immediately. Human quantum communication networks showed potential far beyond traditional interstellar communication systems. Their adaptive AI platforms offered insights that revolutionized existing technological understanding. The most surprising element wasn't the military victory. It was humanity's approach to the aftermath. No demands for territory, no requests for compensation, just a genuine desire to understand and prevent future conflicts. Krell representatives, once considered uncompromising, found themselves engaging in diplomatic discussions. The humans hadn't defeated them through pure military might, but through a fundamental understanding of their core motivations. Research stations across multiple star systems began analyzing the conflict. What had seemed like chaos was revealed as a perfectly calculated strategy. Humanity's strength wasn't in massive weaponry, but in its ability to learn, adapt, and transform. Captain June Park's final statement to the Galactic Council was both simple and profound. "We're not here to conquer," he said. "We're here to understand." The universe shifted. Perceptions changed. The species once considered the most volatile became the most promising diplomatic force in known space. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and nothing would be the same again. Space watched, silent, waiting, transformed. A new era had begun, not with a bang, but with understanding.